This episode of Every Edition is sponsored by Dungeon Master Tuz. Are you a 5e DM looking for exclusive monsters with high-quality virtual tabletop token art? Or a 5e player looking for new character options? Look no further than independent third-party creator DM Tuz. For as little as $3 a month, DM Tuz is providing weekly updates and content for 5e. Follow DM Tuz on Twitter and check out patreon.com/DMTuz, that's DMTUZ, to explore all the free resources and become a member today.
Hello and welcome to Every Edition, your tabletop RPG talk show. I'm Jesse.
I'm John.
Today, we are going to loot the body and take a look at Conan and the 2d20 system from Modiphius.
Yes, we are. And I'm back from PAX Unplugged, and so we're going to unpack PAX Unplugged.
And of course, our morale check, where we take a look at news of the week and things going on in our industry. But first, John, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing well. Twitter is a funky place, as we all know. It's gotten funkier.
That's a word.
Yep. And it seems like, conversations on Twitter come in cycles, right? And come in waves. And at the time of this recording, AI art is hot again in the tabletop RPG community. So I've seen a lot more people talking about it. I've been trying to, drop the, hey, we've got an episode, on that. Every once in a while.
Come leave your negative comments here.
And, be cool about it. So it's back. The one thing I saw that was sort of a new iteration or a new addition to the conversation was the idea of whether or not it makes sense for tabletop role-playing game releases to have some type of, stamp on them or logo or something like that says made by humans, right? Somehow denoting that no AI art or AI programming was used in the creation. It strikes me as sort of like certified organic or something like that, right?
I mean, it doesn't. I feel like that doesn't hurt anything.
Yeah,
but like you could do it. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and some people were sort of questioning the line, right? So if I use Adobe Illustrator or something like that, is that that's computer assisted? So is that still made by humans? Like where does that begin and end? And it's interesting. It really does just show, there's a lot more questions than answers, and it's still pretty gray.
The Wild West.
The Wild West. Yeah. So what's new with you, Jesse?
Keeping on the theme of AI and AI in the RPG world, I have yet to see this pop up, but I know it will. So maybe a couple weeks ago, there was a new program, a new API put out called OpenAI, which is essentially just a text-based information sort of getter.
Okay.
It functions very much like Google searching. You can type in a sentence or a question or whatever, and in a couple seconds it'll spit out an answer generated using these AI algorithms.
Okay.
So where this crosses over with RPG stuff, I have been using it to world build.
Oh, cool.
So right now on World Anvil is World Ember, which is like their end of the year. Every 6 months they do like a big challenge for world building. And I thought that it would be cool because they came out kind of at the same time to try to see the capabilities of this AI in the world building space. So I did, some prompts like make this character, or what does this character look like, or give me a background for this particular character that I'm trying to make. And within seconds, it gives you like paragraphs of background that are 60 or 70% of the time coherent. So it's super interesting, and I think it's definitely something that we should keep an eye on. And I wouldn't be surprised if in like 2 weeks somebody tries to sell a module on DM's Guild made completely by OpenAI, and Twitter blows up about it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll keep our eyes peeled.
Yeah,
What's it called again?
OpenAI.
OpenAI, all right.
It's time for a morale check. In our morale checks, we take a look at things going on in our industry and news of the time. First off, we have sort of a big Unearthed Arcana that is way bigger than it should have been because it's kind of like a no-brainer. But 1D&D and Wizard of the Coast have officially replaced race, or will be officially replacing race, with species in 1D&D. And this has been, I think we called it. Like the last time we talked about Unearthed Arcana.
Literally called it. And said species.
Sure,
so,
Pathfinder has done this already with Ancestries. Ancestry and Culture series on DriveThruRPG has been doing this for 5th edition. It's again, a no-brainer. Race has been a hot topic in the past couple years, and which is, we saw really the first big jump with Pathfinder 2, and it made total sense, and it was like not even a splash in the water.
Yeah, a lot of the memes that were going around were like, Pathfinder did this 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Where were you? And you're right. There's plenty of 5e support on DriveThruRPG that already gives you a way to handle backgrounds without using race. The one that I think is the coolest is Adventures in Middle Earth, right, from Cubicle 7. They didn't use the word race either. So I'm pretty sure when Free League puts out the new version of that, they'll also be using the word culture.
Sure.
Right? And then you could have different flavors of humans and different flavors of dwarves and different flavors of elves and hobbits and stuff. So that was cool. I like that. And it's a total no-brainer. In other news, Troll Lord Games and Frog God Games have announced that they are teaming up to officially support the Castles and Crusades game. So we covered this back in the fall, how Frog God Games recently stopped support for Swords and Wizardry. And they had an Indiegogo campaign for a Halloween double feature, Heresy of Rot and Fungus God from Outer Space.
I remember that. Great
names, right? And what was interesting about this Indiegogo campaign was that they had versions of these modules for Castles and Crusades. And there wasn't any to-do about it, and no special deals or anything like that were announced. Well, now there's the handshake deal, the special deals announced. These two are in cahoots. So Troll Lord Games and Frog God Games working together to support Castles and Crusades. So we should see more Frog God Games modules with Castles and Crusades support. That is exciting.
That's good.
That's fantastic.
Special thanks to our sponsor for today's episode, DM Tuz. On Patreon, check out Forgotten Foes. The tagline for their Patreon is Forgotten Foes, hazards found in the dark, unvisited corners of the world, remnants of a civilization which has collapsed, a dark and corrupting power or a strange entity from far, far away. Forgotten Foes offer something to fear when exploring unpopulated places.
Holy moly.
This sounds exactly like the type of stuff that I want to throw at my players in my games.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I took a look at Forgotten Foes, and I really liked the Garden Guardians. So not everything in Forgotten Foes is a foe necessarily, right? That's one of the interesting things. There are some sort of neutral things, or even some things that could be allies. And the Garden Guardians are these constructs that hide as, garden decorations or ornaments, right, around a garden. In plain sight, and then can come to life. And their original job was to care for, a royal garden of one kind, but they also defend the garden too. So, I just thought that was
an
really
adventure
cool.
there.
Yeah, it was a cool take. One of the things I like about DM Tuz is the art.
Yes, that's exactly what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So this is fully integratable with virtual tabletops, Foundry, Roll20, whatever you use. On DM Tuz's Twitter, you can take a look at some of this art.
Yeah.
Their Patreon gives you all of the access to these files so you can upload them. The art is what struck me because there's all these different creatures that they've created, but they all have similar but different art themes.
Yeah.
They all seem otherworldly, and they very much fit this theme of pseudo horror. But they're all distinct in their color palette, in what they do. I thought that was super great, and I'll be using the tokens in our Roll20 game.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll integrate that. So you can check out the art style for DM Tuz. Just go to Twitter and check out. There are samples out there, right, of their work. So check it out. If you like it, go to the Patreon. Couple bucks. You got access to a whole treasure trove of monsters and virtual tokens and lore about all the monsters. And I do think at the end of the day, there's a lot of third-party creators, especially for 5th edition. And so really what ends up separating the pact is almost always the art.
Yep.
And I do think that, proud to have DM Tuz as a sponsor. The art is exceptional. So,
and the lore and things like that is all formatted very much like a 5th edition book.
Yep.
Very familiar, very cool. We'll have links to their Patreon and Twitter down in the description below.
And finally, from Goodman Games, writing and editing is finished for Xcrawl Classics from Brandon LaSalle. And a Kickstarter is expected for Xcrawl Classics in 2023, so coming up. This is a variant of Dungeon Crawl Classics based on Xcrawl, which was actually a 3.5 and Pathfinder game, which sort of like The Running Man, if you're familiar with that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie from the 80s. It's like a game show almost setting.
Yes.
Except the game show is dungeon delving, right? And so you're an adventurer who is also a reality TV star, right? Who's on this
Great.
game show. So it's very like, dystopian sort of thing, but it also is classic, classic dungeon delving, just with this, sort of tongue-in-cheek twist. Right to it, and you're trying to be famous, right? And you're trying to have a social media presence and all that kind of stuff.
Dungeon tube,
but you're a dwarf, right? Adventurer or whatever. So it's based on Dungeon Crawl Classics, but this is the first time that it's going to be fully integrated into the Dungeon Crawl Classics game system. So that's exciting. The Kickstarter is not only going to have a core book, but 7 modules that are all going to run at the same time. And the cover art for Xcrawl Classics, the book, is going to be done by Doug Kovac, who does a lot of the great art over at Dungeon Crawl Classics. This was originally teased way back in 2015. If you have the Gen Con program guide from Goodman Games, that's the first time there's a preview
appearance of
Xcrawl Classics. So this has been in the works for, 7 years or something like that. So it's finally going to see a new life. Had a chance to play Xcrawl Classics and an adventure run by Brandon. It was really exciting. So it was fun. I'm looking forward to this Kickstarter. So what are you looking forward to? We're getting close to the new year, 2023. What tabletop role-playing games are you most looking forward to? Are you looking forward to Xcrawl Classics? Is there something else coming down the pipe that excites you? Let us know. Send us a note, everyeditionrpg@gmail.com. You can also find links to all of our socials over at everyeditionrpg.com. That's where we've got links to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We've also got links to our Patreon, to our merch, to YouTube, to everything. The whole world of Every Edition is at your fingertips.
I'm really looking forward to playing Blade Runner from Free League.
Yeah.
I haven't picked it up just yet. And there's definitely no time to play it before the end of the year.
Right.
I know it already came out. That's going to be the first thing that I'm going to want to play.
Cool.
In the new year.
Me too. I'm ready to go. I'm excited about that one. All right, it's time for a random encounter. Today's random encounter, I'm back from PAX Unplugged 2022. So this is going to be a rundown of the convention. It was my first time attending PAX, and so I have some thoughts about the convention itself, my experience, the games I had a chance to play, the people I had a chance to meet. All in all, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Are you going to go back next year?
And I think I would go back next year, although I might do it differently. Sure. So that would be interesting to think about and talk about. We'll do a good, bad, and ugly.
Sure.
Because there actually is some ugly with PAX
sort
Unplugged.
of larger cons.
Yeah, bigger conventions, and just right off the bat, right up front, the focus of PAX Unplugged is not tabletop role-playing games, right? Yep. So right away, because that is my focus and why I was there, it was a little bit different than, say, Origins, where it's a bigger tabletop role-playing is such a much bigger presence. So we can talk about that. We can think about the difference between them.
So let's start with the good. What games did you play?
So the good. So I had a chance to play Conan 2d20 from Modiphius. It was my first time playing that game. It was really great. That's why we're bringing it to Loot the Body here in the episodes. We'll talk more about it later. I also had a chance to play Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland.
Nice.
So I met Brian Shutter in person. That was definitely a highlight. And he was running a game of Neon Lords, so it was my first time playing that game. Obviously, I've devoured the book from cover to cover, but actually got to, roll my death save and all that kind of stuff.
You found the secret
I did.
class, right? Yeah.
I found the secret class. So that was pretty epic. I played a new game called Never Going Home, which is a World War I, Cthulhu mythos type horror game.
Yeah.
Really solid, really good. That's one I want to bring to the table in the new year, and have on.
I like the aesthetics it has.
Yeah. Oh, the art is terrific. Yeah. Never Going Home. Check it out, and we'll definitely do more about it coming up. I also had a chance to play Mothership.
Yeah, finally.
For the first time, so that was great too. So I ticked a lot of boxes.
Nice.
It felt good to do that. I also played the latest version of Traveler, which is another science fiction role-playing game. And that's it. Those were the games I had a chance to play.
You were there all 3 days?
Yeah, I had a full slate of games on Friday. I had almost a full slate of games on Saturday. And then Sunday I kind of hit a wall, and also things didn't turn out the way I was hoping they would in terms of signups. So bailed a little bit early on PAX on Sunday and returned to normal life. So
being at a con for a whole weekend, especially an RPG con, can take it out of you.
Oh yeah, no, it was ever present, all encompassing. But it was good. It was also a good escape, a good opportunity to recharge and have some fun and play some games, meet some new people. It was great. So that's the good. Lots of great games. I would say. Of all the games I played, Traveler wasn't my bag.
Okay.
And I'm not entirely sure why. I think because it was a very skill-based, like in terms of your character has a lot of skills,
Sure.
right, type of game. And I'm tending to move away from that.
Very heads down.
Yeah, I prefer a head up, a little bit more of a rules light style game. And Traveler was definitely a head down list of skills.
What was your favorite game?
What was my favorite game? I think it was probably Never Going Home.
Okay.
And I think that because
Sorry, Brian.
No, it's all right. I think because the story was so good, I liked the game system. It had a little bit. Never Going Home had a little bit of a learning curve. It's not 100% intuitive, but it is worth the learning curve.
Really?
How's that for the truth?
Interesting.
Right? So we got promo copies of the game, so we're gonna devour it, hopefully play it, and then have more to say about Never Going Home moving forward. But man, take a look at the art, folks. Like, it's amazing. It's so good.
All right, how about the bad?
All right, the bad and I think this would be true. Anybody who went to PAX is going to say this is the bad. The lines. The lines. It
Lines
was just,
all over at like booths?
and lines to get in every day, even though you already checked in, you already have your wristband, you're already wearing a mask, you've already got your badge. And I still have to wait in a line to almost kind of do it all over again. Like, it didn't. The only thing I could figure was because PAX Unplugged has such a focus on board games and collectible card games, and not so much of a focus on role-playing games. The events for those, it was much more competitive, like head-to-head, matching you with a competitor.
Sure.
And so that they do sign-ups the same day to make sure they have the right number of people and to match you up with somebody of the same skill, whatever. Whereas, like, there's no reason to have. You could have RPG sign-ups way in advance.
Yeah. You don't have to wait until the day.
You don't have to wait. I need 6 people. Done. Right? Like, you're not matching skill levels or anything like that, or hoping people show up. That's what a wait list is for.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not the emphasis. So everything falls in this, like, get in line, sign up the same day. Yuck. Like that.
Like, what if you miss a game that you want to play because you're hoping to play a different game?
Right. there's no need for it with tabletop role playing games. That was my big thing. Like, and I feel very fortunate. Our friends over at Lurking Fears clued me in that on RPG Geek message board.
Okay.
RPG Geek message board, you actually could sign up for some things ahead of time.
But it was through them.
But it was through Lurking Fears, and it was through people that were not officially running games through PAX.
Sure.
So it was some third-party people would do sign-ups in advance. Well, that was the majority of the games I played, which I'm very thankful that. But if you didn't know, and you were just thinking about, well, I want to see what games is PAX offering. Well, you had to sign up at 8 a.m. that morning, and
That's terrible.
Yuck. Ooh, that was rough. So that's the bad. The lines, the same day sign up, not something that is necessary if you're a tabletop role playing game player. So in the future, that's something that every edition can highlight. Right, if there is an opportunity to sign up for stuff ahead of time, I'll try to be more on. Again, I'm learning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I could be more on it and be like, hey, if you're going to PAX and you're looking for role-playing games,
Here's a link.
Here's the link to the message board where people are doing that ahead of time. Save you a big headache.
So if that's the bad,
Yeah.
what's the ugly?
The ugly is related to the bad, but it was the app.
Oh.
Right. So conventions now have their own app and all that kind of stuff. And specifically with PAX, every morning at 8 a.m. was when you can sign up for the games that day. Right. And so I had mine ready to go, sorted so it was just tabletop role-playing games. And you click the plus button and that gets you a ticket, right? So because, again, thanks to Lurking Fears, thanks to Brian Shutter from Neon Lords, they were on RPG Geek and you could sign up ahead of time. But there were a couple games that I wanted to try, especially from like Free League,
Sure.
right? Who had a big presence at PAX Unplugged. A couple games I wanted to try. And so I tried every morning to get a ticket, get a chance to play the games. Never worked. I'm there. I'm on the app at 7:55 every morning, ready to rock. As soon as it turns 8 o'clock and it refreshes, I hit the thing. They're already all gone.
Oh no.
So come on, that's
ridiculous.
That stinks.
Yeah.
That's. Ugh. So. Like again, I'm so grateful that I stumbled into the early signups for some stuff, because otherwise, I guess I would have been waiting in line to see if I had a chance to play some
not actually
tabletop role playing games. The app, I don't know if there were people with faster fingers than me or something.
Too many people at once.
I think maybe Dungeons and Dragons tabletop role playing in general is so hot and popular right now. And I think they're functioning under a model of running the convention that doesn't match the demand.
Yes. And they may not catch up, or they may sort of overextend.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. So I really hope if you're somebody from PAX, like, fix this, because it didn't, I had a great time. I had a wonderful time. And I will go back, but I might only go back for one day rather than 3 days.
A whole weekend seems like a lot.
It didn't make me want to like, oh, the whole experience was amazing from beginning to end. It was more like diminishing returns. But still good. Like, I don't want to crap on it too much, but at the same time, like,
pretty ugly.
Yeah, pretty ugly. So, app. Ugh.
All right, final thoughts.
Final thoughts about PAX Unplugged. So, I would highly recommend, if you can take the day off and you're semi-near Philadelphia, go on Friday. The Friday before the weekend rush and families and all that kind of descend on the con, totally worth it. I mean, just so great.
Seems like the best time to go around to all the different vendors and whatnot, too, because they might have the most amount of stock that they might ever have.
Yep.
I know a lot of booths were selling out of things that they had in very limited supply.
Yep.
Like before even day one was over.
Right. So I would recommend going for Friday, and then maybe basing the rest of it on your budget, maybe skipping the rest of the weekend. But that one day when the lines are a little bit shorter, when there's a little bit fewer people. I mean, PAX is a big con. It's going to have, I think when it reaches its top numbers, it's more like 30,000.
That's insane.
People, right? And Origins, when it hits its peak numbers, more like 20,000. Well, you can feel that extra 10,000 people on Saturday.
Sardines.
Yeah, you can feel it when you're walking around the convention center. But Friday felt, spacious and a little bit more comfortable. And didn't feel like I was competing as hard for spots in games and stuff. So that's kind of my advice. Friday is awesome. It's worth taking a day off. The other thing I noticed, and this again, maybe a little bit of a sidebar, but I did notice inflation when it comes to hotel rooms.
Really?
Whoa. So I don't know if anybody else has experienced inflation, obviously at the grocery store and other places like that. But in terms of convention going, hotel rooms were, connected to the convention center or close to the convention center in a big city. Whew. I noticed the price difference. So, be wary. Costs are real.
So, tell us, have you been to PAX Unplugged or any other sort of adjacent tabletop or card game sort of conventions? I didn't get a chance to go to PAX, even though the whole year I was looking forward to it.
That's all right.
And it just plans just kept eating and eating away at that time. Hopefully next year will be okay. We've got Gen Con and Origins as well next year.
Yep.
Hopefully every edition will be able to make an appearance as every edition.
That sounds cool.
Both of us there. We can update you guys. But we want to know, have you been to PAX Unplugged? And if you were there, maybe what was your favorite thing about it?
Yeah. And how do you feel about my review? Does that gel with your experience, or did you have an even better experience than I did? And I'm sorry if I sounded a little bit more on the negative side. I actually did have a really great weekend, especially because I was with my son and we played most of the games together, and it was really great to be with him and to share that time together. I'm looking forward to Origins coming up in June because I feel like that convention is more tabletop RPG focused and maybe better run.
So let us know down in the comments. You can always check us out over at everyeditionrpg.com, where we have links to all of our socials, including our email, our YouTube, Spotify, Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, all that jazz. It's time to loot the body. On today's Loot the Body, we are taking a look at Conan and sort of more as a whole, the 2d20 system from Modiphius.
Yes.
So John, you had a chance to take a look at this game in particular.
Yeah.
At PAX Unplugged. What'd you think?
So it was interesting. First of all, I really liked the system.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was because the GM was so good or because I enjoyed the 2d20 mechanic, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But one of the things that was really interesting was news was breaking about the Conan game while I was sitting at the table at PAX Unplugged playing Conan.
Enjoying it.
Yeah, and enjoying it. So we found out while we were sitting and we took a break and people were on their phones, Modiphius announced that they didn't have the license any longer. They were going to be losing it next year for Conan. And that Monolith, the gaming company that does the Conan board game, is going to be picking up the license for a Conan role-playing game. And they're going to do a reboot. They're going to do a new system. And so Conan 2d20, no new support.
That's so unfortunate.
So we're playing the game, and I was like, and it's dead. I mean, of course it's not. Right?
Yeah, it's still there.
Because the truth is, if you're a Conan fan, the library for this particular game is awesome.
Really?
Just incredible art. They put out an enormous number of books in a short amount of time. And so Conan fans have been pretty rabid about, scooping this stuff up. The 2d20 system lends itself to being a system that's a little bit pulpy in feel. So it fits that sort of John Carter, Conan, right, early 20th century sort of adventure, Indiana Jones type thing. So the core of the game, right, is obviously you're rolling 2d20. You're trying to roll low. So right away, that's the only thing you got to wrap your brain around here, right? For those of you that are D&D players, right, is you want a 1. We celebrate the 1.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so you're rolling low. Okay, great. And what you're doing is you're trying to roll under a target number. And your target number is determined by your ability scores, your attributes, and your particular skill level in whatever action you're trying to do. So obviously, the higher your attribute bonus and the higher your skill level, the higher your number that you're trying to roll under.
Sure.
Right?
Becomes easier.
Becomes easier. So that's the basic idea. On top of that, there is a community pool of points that's called momentum. And everybody can take from the momentum pool and add extra 2d20s to their roll.
Nice.
Right? Every time you succeed above the number of successes that you're looking for, you actually build momentum and you build the points. So let's say you're rolling 2d20 and you only need 1 success. If you have 2 successes, you roll under your target number twice. Then that builds 1 momentum into your momentum pool
for the party.
I believe there's a maximum of 5 points that you can have in the momentum pool at any one time, so you can't exceed that.
Doesn't go crazy.
It doesn't go crazy, right? And you also can only spend, I think, as many as 3 at a time.
Sure.
So
Some limitations.
So there's limitations on how you access the pool. But Jesse, what I really liked about it was it sort of added a little bit of a gambling.
Yeah, it does seem
mechanic.
a little bit like gambling.
Yeah.
Like, oh, do you want to spend 3 of these chances now on this particular event, or do you want to save them because maybe somebody else in the party might make better use of them? But what happens if you get multiple successes? Then you just put them right back in.
Right.
Or you could get like criticals or things like that.
So I definitely approached the game thinking like, okay, I want to see what happens if I'm just always spending all the time. So I was pretty aggressive about using the pool and using the momentum just about all the time. And also encouraging others, being like, yeah, go ahead. Use 3. Use it every time, right? And that actually seemed to pay off,
sure.
Right? We always seem to have enough momentum. We always then seem to have enough skills. So my advice, if you're playing 2d20, and I'd love for other people to chime in and say, no, you're wrong. But spend early, spend often. Use the momentum if you're playing a 2d20 game, and go for it because you just get it back, right? If you have more successes,
and you get to roll more dice,
and you get to roll more dice. Who doesn't love rolling more dice?
And more d20s at that.
And more d20s. That's right. So literally, the only thing you got to know about this game, rolling low. That's the only right. That's the only thing that you need to wrap your head around. Otherwise, really fun core mechanic. The GM, who is a big Conan fan at PAX, he told me that this particular book actually is sort of all over the place. And that it's not the most efficient in terms of
organization.
Yeah, organizationally, in terms of giving you the information you need. But I did look, there are a lot of cheat sheets right out there. So if you are planning on or want to try Conan, you can find sort of the necessary information out there. And there was a free role-playing game day adventure and plenty of stuff out there that you don't necessarily have to plunk down the money for the book if it's all over the place. Although the artwork is really exciting. If you like that kind of pulp fantasy art, it's great. So I don't know. I don't know a lot about Fallout. I do know a lot about Star Trek. I'm curious about how it would play with other settings and stuff.
It makes me excited to try Fallout.
Yeah.
I've been sort of keeping my eye on it, but we had never played a game with the 2d20 system.
Right.
And Fallout definitely has that same sort of pulpy but post-apocalyptic sort of style to it. And with this like sort of team mechanic of momentum, I think it could be really fun.
Yeah, the thing and we talked about this off camera, but we'll talk about it on camera now. The idea that like, because it's a community pool, right, it does lend itself to some conversations that are metagaming in nature.
Sure.
Right? Like, oh, you should spend 2, or no, let's wait and save it and all that stuff. And while it's metagaming, that's not necessarily always bad because at the end of the day, it actually does bring everybody together and everybody sort of cares about everybody else's actions and has a reason to pay attention, right? And so it draws you in. So in that case, the metagaming that happened with the momentum gambling, whatever you want to call it, really worked for me. It really helped build that cohesion of a party.
Nice.
So yeah, I'd love to try it again. Play, either with Conan again or Fallout.
You're Cthulhu.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Achtung Cthulhu. Right, Achtung Cthulhu, the World War II Cthulhu game. That would be fun. Yeah, very Indiana Jones there. Right? So there you go. The Conan 2d20 game from Modiphius. It's Adventures in an Age Undreamed of. And it's also unsupported at this point.
Get it while you can.
So yeah, and who knows, there might be some good sales coming up. They had incredible sales when they lost the John Carter.
Yep.
The John Carter license. They were really liquidating the stuff, and you could get awesome deals on the dice and the books. Unbelievable. So if they do the same thing with Conan, I would recommend it.
So thanks again for today's sponsor, DM Tuz. Check them out over on Patreon. Links for that and the Twitter are going to be down in the description below. Let us know what you thought about PAX Unplugged, or if you plan on going next year, what was your experience like, and maybe some games that you picked up. And of course, you can find us on social medias and check out our website, everyeditionrpg.com, where we have links to all of our socials, including our email, Spotify, YouTube, all that jazz.
We are kissing almost 1,000 subscribers.
Very close.
On YouTube. And
which is wild.
Yeah. It's
like
great.
It felt like only like a couple months ago we were like, yeah, we just hit 100. Here we go. Let's try to get to 1,000. We were like talking to each other like, that's never going to happen.
Yeah. So thanks everybody.
Yeah.
And we had our first live stream, which was really fun.
That was really fun.
And so we're going to marry these two things together. And when we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're going to do another live stream.
Yeah, celebration.
Another live episode to celebrate. So help us out there. Spread the word of Every Edition. Get your friends and family and pets to subscribe. And thanks again for listening. And I'm back from PAX Unplugged. And so we're going to unpack PAX Unplugged.
Okay. How long were you thinking about that?
I wasn't.
Okay.
That just came out. That was pretty good. That was pretty good, wasn't it?
I like that.
That was pretty good.